On today's show, Tougher Mudder Regional Championship Preview at Tough Mudder Tri-State with Grant Polson. This is the world's toughest podcast. Welcome to the world's toughest podcast, where we talk about any obstacle course race you'd like, as long as that's world's toughest mudder. Each week we talk to members of the WTM community and share stories of success and failure in the single greatest event in OCR. My name is Will Hicks, and this is the world's toughest podcast. This weekend is the first of 4 races in the Tougher Mudder Championship Series. The Tougher Mudder East Regional Championship race will be held on October 7th at Tough Mudder Tri-State. Tri-State is held at Raceway Park in New Jersey, which is the original site of World's Toughest Mudder. That's a fun fact. In a few minutes, we're going to talk with Grant Polson about the course and what you can expect to see out there. You can see and download a copy of the map at our Facebook page, facebook.com/worldstoughestpod. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me an email at willhicks@gmail.com or on Twitter at @thewillhicks. Some other guy already had twitter.com/willhicks, and he hasn't tweeted since 2011, so I had to go with the Will Hicks. But whatever. It doesn't clearly bother me on a fundamental level. If you would like to be my friend, leave a review for the podcast on iTunes. We will instantly be best friends. We can braid each other's hair. Go to iTunes, leave a review. We talked about the Tougher Mudder Championship Series last episode. I don't want to repeat myself, so if you're wondering what that's all about, go check out episode 41. It's the one with Anka Frederick. It's a good episode. There are 2 big pieces of news that have come out of Team HQ since last week. The first is that you can watch all 4 of the Tougher Mudder Championship races live on Facebook. Facebook.com/toughmudderlive. The first broadcast is scheduled to start on Saturday, October 7th at 8 a.m. Eastern, 5 a.m. Pacific. One of the hosts of the broadcast will be Matt B. Davis. Congratulations, Matt. You, of course, know Matt B. Davis as the host of the Obstacle Racing Media podcast, one of the top 2 podcasts about obstacle course racing. I believe Coach and E-Rock will also be there handling the co-hosting duties with Matt. Saturday morning, facebook.com/toughmudderlive. Watch it. Second piece of news is the announcement of the Tough Mudder Pro Team. Ryan Atkins, Lindsey Webster, Hunter McIntyre, and Stephanie Bishop are the 4 members of the Tough Mudder Pro Team. Tough Mudder just announced the Tough Mudder Pro Team right before the Spartan Race World Championship last weekend. Pro teams in OCR aren't a new thing. Spartan Race has one. Conquer the Gauntlet has one. Goat Tough has one. But here's what makes the Tough Mudder Pro Team unique. They're all professionals. I mean, they are full-time obstacle course racers. You've probably heard all 4 of their names before, but let me remind you who each of them are. Ryan Atkins is the best man in the world at endurance OCR racing. Michael Jordan is the Ryan Atkins of basketball. Ryan is the reigning champion of World's Toughest Mudder in the team category, along with John Albin. They've won it in both 2015 and 2016. Atkins has won World's Toughest Mudder 4 times, twice in the team category and twice solo. He was the first man to run 100 miles at World's Toughest and is the only man to run 100 miles twice. This year he ran the 8-hour-long Toughest Mudder race 4 times and won all 4. Hunter McIntyre is the reigning champion of Tough Mudder X, the new 1-mile-long race. He's also a past winner of World's Toughest Mudder in the team category, putting up 75 miles plus at World's Toughest Mudder 2014. He's also run Tougher Mudder twice this year and won both times. Stephanie Bishop is the reigning women's champion of World's Toughest Mudder. She ran 85 miles last year and had more in the tank. Stephanie has been working with Team HQ this year, even appearing in several of the Coachified videos. Lindsay Webster is a future winner of World's Toughest Mudder. There are a couple of women that you look at them and you know it's not a matter of if, but a matter of when they're going to win the big one. Lindsay is one of those women. Lindsay ran Toughest Mudder 3 times this year and won all 3. Ryan, Hunter, and Lindsay all competed in the Spartan Race World Championships last week. Lindsay won the women's race. Ryan placed 4th and Hunter placed 5th in the men's race. The next championship race for the Tough Mudder Pro Team is the OCR World Championships in Blue Mountain, Canada. Those will be on October 13th through the 15th. I got more stuff to talk about, but we'll do it next episode. Let's talk to Grant Polson. Let's go to the phones. Grant Polson, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks, Will.
Tell me about your first World's Toughest Mudder.
Oh, let's see. The first one I ran was a couple of years ago in 2015. Actually, I didn't know I was going to run at the time. I didn't sign up for that until 2 months before. I've been running Tough Mudders for a while, and not terribly many of them, but enough of them that I was running multiple laps by 2015. So I ran, this is in Seattle, so mid-September of 2015. I ran a couple laps on Saturday and then ran a couple more on Sunday. And by the time I finished up on Sunday, a bunch of the world's crew were hanging out at the finish line, watching everybody go through EST, hanging out with Clinton and whatnot. And I just kind of cruised up, went on through it and finished. And Clinton was like, "Oh, this bad man. He ran 4 laps this weekend. Suck it.
That what Clinton said that?
Clinton does. Oh, yeah, something like that. I can't remember it too many times, but something along those lines. So the world people were like, "Hey, come over here. Come hang out with us." So I sat down and started talking to Copper, Hannah Copper. And she said, "Hey, you should come to Worlds." I said, "Well, I've been thinking about it. I might do it. I've got a lot going on, busy with things, but tell me a little bit more about it." So she told me a bit about it. And so I kind of went home, and that next week I signed up. And I had to go do the mad scramble to get all my gear together and everything. But, yeah, signed up 2 months before and then found myself in the middle of the desert overnight 2 months later.
At that point, how many Tough Mudders had you run?
Somewhere around 10. I can't remember exactly what number I was on that day, but it was 10-ish.
Okay.
Maybe 12. 2 months before, I didn't have too terribly much in the way of gear. I'd done a few trail runs and whatnot before, but I had to get lights, I had to get wetsuit, I had to get everything that I needed. I mean, before then I was running around in just old tennis shoes and running shoes that I had. I didn't have a real pair of trail running shoes. So just stepping up and getting an actual pair of shoes and then going and running Worlds, just that by itself was a huge difference. Because I was used to sliding around in the mud and whatnot, and not really having the traction that we all know and love that we enjoy now.
What did you think when you rolled into Vegas and went through the registration process and kind of your first time at Worlds?
Oh, it was a great time. I loved it. It's part of it is the event itself, just the challenge of going down and doing Worlds, the 24-hour nonstop fun fest that is Worlds. But the other thing about it was just everyone, the entire community, meeting everyone else who I hadn't seen from around the country, never met before, but just being welcomed into the community, getting to know everybody, and just having that time with everybody and enjoying what we do as much as we do. That was a big thing. Was just everybody that's in the community being there and taking part.
2015 was my first year too, and I could not wipe the smile off my face the day and a half leading into the race. I was just like, I can't believe I'm here. Like, every year is great, but man, that first year is something special.
And then when you were running around on course that first time, but did you have it in your mind that you couldn't believe that you were there and you were doing it and you were around all these people and you were going to just be in this desert in Vegas overnight? Who knows what was going to happen, but you were there.
I literally couldn't believe it. I was like, I felt like I was in a dream. It was, that first time, the first 6 hours or so. It's just, absolutely.
Yeah, you're a little bit too amped up, a little bit too much energy, so you burn yourself out a little bit. But once you get past that part and you just continue on through it, then it's a blissful experience.
How did you do that first year?
And we can't wait to go back again. That first year, just shortly before then, I had run I can say names on the show. I ran a Spartan Hurricane Heat 12-hour shortly after the Tough Mudder in Seattle. So I went and did that in October. And while I was out there on the scavenger hunt, we had to go get a dead fish by the river. So I ran down to the riverbank, and as I got the dead fish loaded up in my bag, I was carrying it back. As I was running along the riverbank, I stepped on a rock funny or something, just kind of tweaked my knee. And so I don't know if I tore my meniscus or anything like that, but by the time I got back to camp, I couldn't do any lateral movement. My knee just was in a lot of pain that October. So I had to pull myself out of that race, and then I just kind of rehabbed it for a little while. There was a marathon that I had already signed up for, so I went and did that, which in hindsight was probably a bad idea. Terrible idea if I'm having knee problems, but I went and did it anyway. And that was the end of October, 2 weeks before Worlds. Felt okay. So then I went down to Worlds, and on lap 7, at around it was the middle of the night. It was 3 a.m, I guess, if I'm remembering my times right. Cruising around the course, and just my knee decided it was not going to cooperate any longer, and the same injury just reared its ugly head, and I couldn't run anymore. It was just a shooting pain in my knee. It felt like I had torn a meniscus or something along those lines, but I couldn't have any lateral movement. I couldn't really put any weight on it. So I was kind of screwed. And that was right after starting my 7th lap. So I ended up gimping around the entire rest of the course, just slower than slow. I think everybody who was walking passed me easily. I was just dragging my left leg along. Eventually got to the end, and I couldn't put any weight on my knee. I actually got stuck I couldn't jump off the cliff, so I went over to Mud Mile and got stuck in the pits. I couldn't get enough force to get myself out of the pit. I couldn't put any weight on my left knee at all. So I medical DNF'd myself and went over to the med tent, and they're like, "Yeah, here's some crutches. Don't put any weight on that, and have that checked out as soon as you get back." So I kind of had an early exit to my first world trip, which just kind of lit a fire under me to come back next year with a bit more of a vengeance.
So you finished your last lap on crutches?
No, I got carted in to the med tent, and then I was done. I had DNF'd because I needed medical assistance just to get out of Mud Mile.
Yeah. That's a shame to get so close to the end and not get that lap. Yeah, I know. But that's just how it went down. I couldn't do anything else with it. I couldn't put any weight on it. I was on crutches the rest of the day. And unfortunately, the house I was staying at, the room I was in was upstairs. So when we got back to the house, I just kind of like crawled upstairs, crawled downstairs. If I had to move anywhere, I was crawling around the house. Everyone was just wondering what I was doing. I'm like, don't mind me. I'm just crawling here. Going back to something else you said a minute ago, There's a lot of talk about obstacle innovation. You've got to give Spartan Race a lot of credit. I haven't seen anybody else with the dead fish retrieval obstacle.
Yeah. Well, that was just one of the various things we had to do during the scavenger hunt. I mean, there's always something different when you're doing those. And I've done a number of their 12-hour events, finished them. And I've finished their 24-hour one, which was in Seattle this year as well.
How did you feel after World's Toughest 2015?
After the first Worlds?
Yeah. Like emotionally, like having to finish like that.
Oh, I had my breakdown on course. I was definitely wrecked. I thought when my knee first went out, I thought that I could get around the course and I would just gut through it, because that's been how I've dealt with injury or whatever in the past. Is just I'll work through it, I'll get some run in, stretch it out, and it'll be fine in a little bit. So just kept on moving. It didn't get any better. By the time we got around and we're headed up that hill, the top of the hill, the big hill, one of the big hills, but especially that one where you go all the way to the top, I knew then it was hitting me hard that I was done, just completely just done. My knee was not going to allow me to continue. So I had a little emotional time to myself there, walking up that hill. Friends, everybody, I could hear everybody around me, running by or walking by, and they're chatting, talking with friends. And I knew who it was too. I could recognize them by voice, some of them. And, some of them, a ton of people, even if they didn't know me, they stopped and asked if I was doing okay, if I needed help or anything like that. And didn't want to let on, so I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm just getting around. So go get this. And so off they went. But shed some tears on that hill. So yeah, I had plenty of time out there on that last lap to deal with it emotionally.
What was your recovery like after you got home?
I couldn't move or do too much for a little while. So went through the holidays, and once I got back to just being able to normally walk around, I started doing a bit more walking and a bit more stretching. I did a lot of hot yoga, Bikram yoga after that. Just try to get back into it and stretch it out and get some flexibility built back up in my joints, just to try to prevent that exact thing from happening ever again. So that was my main workout for about 4 or 5 months, was just going to hot yoga 3-4 times a week and just burning it off.
How did that work? Did it work?
Yeah, it worked great. I got a lot more flexible out of it, so it's helped me with my running posture and whatnot, as well as I haven't had any more knee problems like that since. Don't forget to stretch, everybody. Stretch well. Don't run cold. Don't get injured.
Do you still use hot yoga as part of your workout regimen?
I haven't had time to recently. I would like to have done more of it. I do what I can. When I can get down there and take part in it, I will. In the summer, it's nice, especially where I live here in Hood River. It's hot enough I can just go outside, and it's like being in hot yoga. But definitely, I still try to incorporate stretching into what I'm doing, even if it's not hot yoga. Still got to get that stretch in. So I do incorporate yoga poses, especially stretches like pigeon, runner's pose, things like that. Things that'll really stretch out the hips, quads, legs, anything that's lower body stretch, especially. I will continue doing that just to keep my lower legs limber and ready to go. Because we do a lot of lateral movement out there. Over obstacles, around corners, hills, up, down, sideways. And some of these courses are highly technical. So you take my advice, take care of yourself, stretch, stay limber, incorporate it into your workout regimen if you can. That way you don't end up at Worlds like I did, crying uphill because you're just emotionally done and you can't finish.
Do you stretch before a run or after a run? How much time do you stretch?
Both. I'll do before. I'll usually start stretching a little bit about an hour before, and then I'll take that may take 15, 20 minutes. Then I'll run around a little bit, say hi to everybody, and then I'll head over to the start chute and take another 15, 20 minutes over there, stretching, running around a little bit, just warming up. But a lot of my stretching does focus on my legs.
One of the tough.
So before any race, it's about half hour, 45 minutes of just stretching.
One of the tough things at really any Tough Mudder, but especially World's Toughest, is that you're in the start chute for maybe an hour before the race actually starts, just standing there getting cold, which I'm sure is not healthy for, especially if you're about to break out in a not a sprint, but a strong run.
Since we got that sprint lap with an hour of no obstacles, everyone wants to just get out of the chute quickly and put as many miles as they can on course before the obstacles open up. Every time, last couple of years that I've been there and we've been hanging out in the start chute for the hour during medical, I've just been stretching. I've just been doing small stretches as much as I reasonably can in there. I don't want to shove people out of the way, but I'll continue to stretch up until we start.
So after 2015, you had a year to train for World's Toughest 2016. How did 2016 go for you?
Yeah. 2016 was a whole lot better. I ran a whole lot more regular mudders. So I got my count up to 25 by the time I did Worlds in 2016. That was actually my 25th. But I was in a lot better shape and I was ready to go. And my goal last year was 75. I was in pretty good shape and ready for it. So I went down, and my fiance was my pit last year, so I actually had a pit crew, which was nice. Cut down my pit time a bit because I actually had help getting everything ready and going. So I was pretty well prepped. So I head out, and you had Chris on a little while ago who ran 75. He and I were actually running really close to each other. At the end of the sprint lap, we were at hump check. And, we were pacing each other pretty well at that 75 mile pace. So we were whipping around the course, and we got done with our third lap roughly the same time. I think I was a little bit behind him, but we were in the pit about the time the sun was setting. And remembering 2015 and how cold it got as soon as that sun went down, I thought, hey, great. I'm right in the pit, right at the right time. Temperature's going to drop. I'm going to put on my wetsuit. I'm going to be warm. So tossed on that wetsuit, was ready to go. But what I did was I put on my full wetsuit, my heavy wetsuit, my 5'7". And so back out I went in my 5'7", which was my mistake. It was way too hot for a 5'7". I did not thermoregulate, and I overheated pretty quickly. Done with that fourth lap, but I was really, really hot. I'd sweated everything out. I didn't have much fluid. So by the time I got done with that fourth, I was pretty dehydrated. And so I got some more fluids and was heading around on my next one. But since I had lost so much and overheated, then my body wasn't recovering like it should have. I was running slower, and I ended up getting hyperthermic after getting hypothermic, or vice versa. So I went from being way too hot to way too cold. Didn't have enough fluids in me, and it slowed my pace way, way down. But I was determined to push through it, so I kept going. And then after lap 7, also around 3 in the morning or so, my 7th lap took me, I don't know, 3 hours, something absurd, just because I was pretty out of it. I was about falling asleep on course just from being wiped out. I ended up, I couldn't go off the cliff, which I really wanted to, and even though that was the really short way, so I ended up going the other route, the penalty loop route, and I ran into Darth Vader down there. He just said, we're going to get through this together. And so we we went down and did the penalty loop together. And then I got into the pit and just staggered over to the hot showers, plopped in the hot shower and just sat in there for 15 minutes just warming up again. I was definitely hypothermic at that point. I was shaking a little bit. Not terrible, but just enough that I needed it. And then I went back to my tent and made the mistake of falling asleep. I was just done at that point. Passed out for a little bit, woke back up. I don't know how many hours later. It was around, 9 in the morning, 9:30. So I guess I got 4 or 5 hours of sleep. And then I was like, well, getting back out on course. So got my stuff back together, went back out on course, and did one more lap with Brady Archer, Melissa, and a whole ton of other people that were out there on their last lap. So we did pretty casual last one on that. I only got 40 miles. Was not happy with that performance either. The thing that really bothered me about this past year was that I was on point with this. I was on a 75-mile pace. I was feeling great. Just cruising around. I had everything that I needed. I didn't thermoregulate appropriately, and it cost me. So I hope to avoid both of those 2 mistakes from past years this year.
You know what? For people who've never been to Worlds, they can learn a huge lesson from what you just said, because every single year at World's Toughest, everyone always says, put your wetsuit on before you get cold. It's going to get cold. You got to don't get cold. And that's true.
Yep.
But last year it was so warm that the conventional wisdom was totally wrong. I did the exact same thing you did. I put my wetsuit on too early. It was a 6 or 7 mil, and there was a water station halfway through the lap, like the 2.5 mile mark, with a big dumpster next to it. And I don't know what lap it was, but I laid up against that dumpster, and I felt like I was going to die. I would have been happy to die right then. I was so hot. I couldn't cool off. I was pulling my wetsuit down. I spent probably half an hour just like laying at that dumpster trying to cool down.
Yeah, and last year the weather was great, but since we ran it in 2015, we were expecting that temperature to drop like it did the year before. It just didn't happen. So yeah, if anybody still needs gear for this year, my recommendation would be definitely get gear that you can thermoregulate. Don't get cold. Definitely have gear that'll keep you warm, but you need to be able to convert it in some way so you can dump heat if you need to. Either it has to have a zipper in the front or it has to be layers. Because if you're trapped in a 7 mil wetsuit, you're trapped in the 7 mil wetsuit. There's nothing you could do about it. Definitely flexible clothing choices are a good strategic option.
How are you planning to thermoregulate this year? Do you have different gear or a different wetsuit that you're going to bring with you?
Oh yeah, I have different gear this year. I still have my heavy stuff in case I need it, but I have intermediate layers and levels that I can go to before then. I highly doubt that I'm going to need, well, knock on wood, I don't know what the weather's going to be like yet. I doubt I'm going to go 7 mil this year just because of the other options I have. I got a shark skin. I've got a couple other things that I have. I've been tearing apart old wetsuits and making ad hoc little equipment for myself with them. I've got leg mitt for my right hand. I've got compression for my legs. I have everything else that I need layer-wise that I know I shouldn't get cold. On me, and this varies person by person, everybody's different. My main area that I have to keep warm is just my core and my arms. My legs are absolutely fine. I can run with cold legs all day, and they'll be perfectly happy. So anything with me, it's anything upper body. And so I've geared up with that in mind specifically this year.
Do you have
that recommendation is entirely independent based on the individual.
Do you have a neoprene hood or hat? What do you do for that?
Yeah, I have a couple different options for that. I have a neoprene hood, like a full hood that I can wear. I also have a neoprene beanie. I have a swimming cap that I can put on over my head if I feel like it, just to keep my head dry. And I'll use some combination of those three things out there on course: swimming cap, a beanie, and the full hood.
It sounds like overkill, but I do the same thing. I have like 3 head options because you never know. You don't know what it's going to be like out there until you're there.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be 75 and sunny during the day. It might drop down to the mid-40s at night. We don't know. It could be both. So you just better come ready for either of those possibilities.
You ran Toughest Mudder in Los Angeles and in Canada this year. LA was a notoriously difficult course that you got 25 miles on. What did you think of Toughest Mudder LA?
Oh, it was a great time. I didn't mind it at all. I ran three laps on the first half and then 2 laps of our favorite back section of hills. I think most everybody, except for the beasts, ran like two laps on the second half at most. Those hills are rough. Yeah, I got around. It was myself, Sue Harvey Brown, Tiff Wynn, a few other of us had a really good pace going, and so we all kind of paced each other on the first 3 laps really well, and we almost came in, and we almost got on. I think Sue did. Almost got that 4th lap in on the first half of the course, which was really nice and easy and a whole lot flatter than the second half of the course.
Mm-hmm.
I was not so fortunate, so I had 2 laps of the second half, got out there, and I don't know other people's experiences. I heard some people had their obstacles closed. When I was out there on it, I didn't have any obstacles closed. So I went through that Arctic Enema both laps. I went through everything both laps. So I didn't get as lucky as the others did. On my 5th lap, I ran into Eric Panu out there, and we ran together on our 5th. It was a little cold, just around 6 in the morning or so, so it was a little chilly, and he was gracious enough to give me his windbreaker to wear to keep myself warm a bit on that last lap, and he really helped me get around and finish that 25. I don't know if I would have gotten around it without him. Because getting over some of those obstacles, I needed help with some of them. But my arm was actually absolutely spent, and coming down that hill and going over balls to the wall, just trying to hoist myself up on that rope was difficult enough. But yeah, definitely getting through that last lap with Eric wouldn't have been able to do it without him. And that's kind of the thing with all the Tough Mudders is that if anybody's out there struggling on course, everybody else who's there will help each other. That's the wonderful thing about World, the Toughest, even the normal course. Everybody's just there helping each other through everything, and it's great. Everybody's meeting each other's goals and making things happen for each other. Just like myself in LA with Eric. There's no way I would have gotten through it without him, and he made it happen. He didn't have to, but he did.
I don't think people realize how big a help they are sometimes. Like, you give an Eric credit for getting you through that. I had a guy that helped me in 2015. I was stuck on an obstacle, and I was like, it's a must-complete obstacle, and I couldn't get past it. And I was like, well, I'm just going to have to sit here for 12 hours then. And one guy helped me, and his name was Dave or David. I don't know his last name. But I don't even think he realizes how much. And then in Chicago, Ryan Cray was up on Everest for like 6 hours, and I would not have gotten my 25 miles without him on top of Everest. And I think a lot of times, everyone helps everyone out there, but I don't think people realize like how big of a help or how much it means sometimes when they're helping out. Just doing a small thing, like giving you his jacket, it's not, but like you give him credit for helping you get that contender status. It's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, much. I mean, it's often just little things like that just take a moment, but it helps somebody else more than we may know, and that's okay. That's just what we do. That's also part of the beauty of this group.
Grant, you kind of alluded to it a couple times, but you were actually born without your left hand. How does that affect your obstacle completion?
Some obstacles are more difficult than others. I kind of approach all the obstacles a little bit differently, just depending on however I have to get through it. So I had to figure out new or different ways to complete an obstacle that HQ doesn't really test for. I'd like to go down to innovation. I would like to go down to innovation lab sometime and play around with them some on testing out some obstacles. But I kind of every time I go out and run a course, it's kind of my own innovation lab with how I gotta complete these things. For example, Funky Monkey, the older version I could do was just the ladder and the bars and everything. That was no problem. And then they added the wheels, which made a whole nother element of this thing. Instead of, for example, a lot of people just go up when they're going to Funky Monkey, they climb the ladder like normal monkey bars. They're hanging below it, two hands, and they're swinging from bar to bar, and they get up there and they keep going. I go up Funky Monkey backwards. I start with my back to the water, my back to the wheels, and everything, and I hop up on the ladder and climb it like I'm climbing a ladder. I have my feet up there to provide some stability. Otherwise, I'm in trouble because I don't have the stability other people have. Get to the top there, grab that horizontal wheel, toss my arm over it, spin around. I don't really have much control when I'm doing any of that stuff just because that's how it works. The most challenging part are those vertical wheels, just because I don't have the biggest swing or the grip that other people have. And so what I've found is I just have to get a really big swing in order to get enough momentum to get that to reach out with my right hand and get that second wheel. And that's just an example of some of the modifications I have to do on the course. I modify all the obstacles I have, Kong, King of Swingers, Double Rainbow. I can do them. I've been able to do them all and do them all successfully. It just takes me a little bit more time or effort than other people. Eventually, later on in the race, if we do a toughest or worlds, for example, my right arm gets spent a whole lot faster than other people, so I have to kind of keep that in mind when I'm out there. But all these obstacles, I just have to modify to meet what I can do.
So, like on Kong, for example, you use your right hand normally, but like with your left hand, you can kind of use your elbow to grab onto the rings?
Yeah, on Kong, I don't even use my right hand normally, because if I did, I would drop too low, and I wouldn't be able to swing my left arm up and hook it into the ring.
Oh, sure.
And yeah, there's about a 6-inch difference in the length of my arms. So I have to compensate for that, and everything's kind of a little lopsided when I get up there. The way I end up doing on Kong is I grab that first ring, hook my left elbow into it, swing out to the second ring, and I'll either hook my right elbow into it if I'm really tired, or I will reach above the ring and grab the strap with my right hand. So when I swing to that third ring, I'm higher, my right grip is higher, and I can actually hook my left arm into the ring. If I were to grab just the ring with my right hand, I would be way too low, and I wouldn't be able to get my left arm up high enough to hook it into that third ring. So everything, all the obstacles that I have to do, I have to modify in order just to do that sort of thing. I've completed them all. As long as I can complete them all, then I'll keep out there working on it. The only one I'm having a difficult time figuring out right now is Stage 5 Clinger. Since HQ changed the bars to those like ADA bathroom bars that are about 2 inches from the plywood, I can't put my arm in there and hook in up to my elbow or anything, because if I slip or fall, my left forearm will break. It'll act as a lever in between the plywood and the bar, and I would be hanging by my left arm only, and the bar would shatter my forearm.
Oh, I just winced hearing you say that. But no, I can totally imagine it. At Worlds last year, the bars that we used on Stage 5 Clinger had like 4 inches almost of space. It seemed 3 or 4 inches. And then sometime during the year, they've changed to these bars where you can barely get your hand in between the bar and the wood on the top.
Yeah, there's a number of people that have difficulty they're scraping their knuckles on there, which works for them. They're able to get their hand out. I don't have that option. So if I'm up there and I can kind of swing like you're doing monkey bars. If I stick my arm in between there, I don't grab with my right, or I slip and fall. That's a forearm bone snapping in half. So that one's the one I'm still trying to figure out. I've kind of modified it a little bit, but I can't quite use those bars yet. If I come up to the obstacle and I have to complete it the traditional way, then everyone on course is willing to help me out with that, and they kind of like lift me up on my legs so I can do the reach around part, and then I can just muscle myself up over the lip. But that upside down part, I'm still working on that.
Grant, you told me about an adaptive athlete group you have on Facebook. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so there's a few of us that are missing legs. I think I'm the only one missing a hand. There's a few of us that are missing things or have quote-unquote disabilities. And so we kind of created this adaptive athlete Facebook group that we're part of. And so we get on there and we share recommendations or gear tips or things, resources with each other on how to approach Tough Mudder, strategies on how to complete obstacles, anything that's really specialized things that we need to know or take into consideration whenever we're preparing for an event or worlds or toughest or anything else for that matter. I'm in the group, Dan Kosek's in the group, Darth's in the group, Jenny, Jamie, Jesse, Blind Pete, Scott Daniel, No Galley, tons of other people I'm sure I'm neglecting to mention off the top of my head. So it's a really great crew of people. We're all going to get together. There's going to be a bunch of us at Worlds, and so we're going to try to meet up and figure out how to do this. Some of us have wheelchairs. Some of us have prosthetic legs and whatnot. And we all help each other find out ways to just overcome this stuff. There's a few grants out there for somebody if they're an adaptive athlete, because specialized equipment for us tends to run on the more expensive side, it being custom fitted and all. And then there's a lot of ways that we just share information with each other and figure out how to overcome obstacles. Because to us, it doesn't matter what obstacles impede us in life. It just matters how we overcome them.
Is this a World's Toughest only thing, or is if any OCR athletes are interested, can they check it out also?
Yeah, any OCR athlete can check it out. Initially, it was set up as primarily people that run Tough Mudders, since we all know each other pretty well. But there's a number of us that also run the other races. And so we're certainly welcome to other adaptive athletes coming in and joining the group and sharing their resources and experiences and strategies for what they have and the obstacle, how they overcome obstacles and complete courses out there. More the merrier.
How can people find the group?
Oh, PM me. PM me on Facebook. I suppose would be the easiest way. Or myself or Dan Kosik. Dan, Kosick. He's the administrator and kind of the main guy of the group that can help set everybody up and get everybody into the group. So either private message myself or Dan will help people get set up with that.
Grant, if anybody has questions, is it all right if they PM you personally, just about your story, or maybe if they have a similar situation, they can talk to you? Yeah. People can PM me and talk about anything they would like to chat. Similar circumstances, whatever's on their mind. If they'd like to talk about tax policy, we can do that too. I'm game for that. Let me know if anyone calls you or PMs you about tax policy. I would love to hear how that goes.
Maddie, Greg, and I are chatting a little bit about it.
Yeah, you know what? I could see Maddie starting that conversation up. That's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yep. I actually started it with him.
Yeah. Maddie's the one guy that we're all going to be like, yeah, I knew him back when.
Back when he was a nobody.
Yeah.
Back when he was some guy from Apple and he broke his neck.
Yeah, he told me that story. He told me that.
Yeah, we ran with him a lot when he had his neck brace at Tahoe and whatnot. He was getting him around the course was pretty sensitive. And yeah, we were going to get him. He really wanted to do EST when he had his neck brace. so we all kind of went there, and we were at the start, and we were going to kind of snowplow a path through the wires. So we got in there, and we kind of started our snowplow, but then something happened behind me. I'm not sure exactly what, and everyone's like, "Nope, it's not happening anymore. Nope, too close, not happening." So, yeah, we weren't able to make that happen for him, but we made the attempt.
Chris Betcher wanted me to ask you why you do electroshock therapy every time.
Yeah, I actually got him to do it with me in Seattle a little bit. I don't mind it. I'm one of the crazy people that don't mind EST whatsoever. I'll go in there and hang out for a while. I think there's a few of us that aren't quite right in the head or something, and we'll just go hang out in there. Myself, Kevin Chow, Wacker, we'll just go. We've done a few of these, and we should go hang out in EST for a while. Mike, Kevin, and myself got together once, and we did a 360-degree iron cross holding hands windmill, something. Like all three of us held hands and did a giant iron cross windmill through EST.
So you held hands, did the iron cross, walked into the middle, and then rotated around yourselves?
No, we rotated the entire time that we were going through EST. So we were at the start, we started holding hands, and then we started rotating. Before we even went in, we started rotating, and we kept rotating the entire way through. Iron cross the whole time, holding hands the whole time.
Does it not hurt?
Well, it depends on the course. Sometimes it stings pretty good, but it's not terrible to us anyway. It affects everybody differently. I found, that's just one example of things we do. We try to figure out something new to do every time. I did one course in Sacramento where I did a Pokemon run through EST, which is grabbing all the wires. So I went through row to row and just grabbed and touched all the wires all the way through because you got to touch them all, right?
What happened to your hands? What did they look like when you were done? Did they burn them?
No, they were fine. You can go in there and grab the wire and just hold on to it if you want.
You can.
Hey, that's the thing about EST. Well, come join me, Will.
No, sir.
Come on. Next time we do it, we'll do it together.
I hate EST so much. I did it my very first time, and I didn't do it again for like 5 years.
I want to share it with you, Will. I want to share the joy with you.
You're far too generous.
That's it. Chris and I and Joe and a couple other people, if a bunch of us are going to NorCal in a week and a half, we are going to maybe play a game of chicken fight in EST. So we'll see if we're able to get that going. And then Michael Stevens has a thing where he has assist 100 mother patches with Everest that he's been doing for a while. And so we've been kind of going around and changing obstacles and helping 100 different people on Funky Monkey somehow, or Mud Mile, or Berlin Walls. So we've kind of been moving around helping 100 people at each different one. Nobody has done EST yet except maybe me, but that was before I was counting. So at NorCal, I'm planning on doing assist 100 mothers through EST just for fun. So that'll be a thing. And the main thing with everybody going through EST, and this is true, this isn't just a me thing, that obstacle is entirely mental. A lot of people think it's physical because you get shocked and you go down, you fall down, it's whatever, it's electricity going through your body. The thing about it is you're going to get shocked. You have to mentally accept that and embrace it in order to just do what we do and hang out in there for a while. It's going to happen anyway. So you might as well just accept it. And then you just get in there, and then you can hang out all day and get shocked all you want, as long as that's okay with you. And you kind of reach a more zen state in there if you get to that point mentally. But even if you just run through it, it's entirely 100% mental. Just focus on running through and accept that you're going to get shocked a couple times and run right through it. and then you're out the other side.
So if it's someone's first time, they've never done electroshock therapy, and they're standing there looking at the wires hanging in front of them, what advice would you give them? Accept the pain?
Accept that it's going to happen. They're going to get shocked. They're going to get tagged. It might surprise them, but just expect it. Don't try to guess it. Don't try to time it. Don't try to avoid the wires, because the more you try to avoid the wires, the more it gets in your head, and the more you think about it. And you get tagged, and then you're like, oh, I'm surprised it's tagged, and you're in there kind of mentally psyching yourself out a little bit. If you go through it, just accept it, and everybody will be okay. A lot of first-timers that have been nervous about it, I've said, help them before they've gone in there and said, this is mental. This is a mental thing. It's not physical. You can get through it. You can stand the whole way through it. Know that you're going to get tagged and be okay with that. And then sometimes it takes them a minute or two to get in there. Sometimes it helps to hold their hand and go in there with them or something. But there's only been a couple people that got in there and then had to take them back out because they just refused to move. I just had to take them out, get the wires off of them, and then take them out the sides. But everybody else has been able to get through it without too much of a problem. So yeah, first timers, it's mental. It's just a mental obstacle, and you'll get through it. NorCal in a week and a half. My fiance that's going to be her first one, her first full, and so that's going to be the first time that she's going to do EST. She's already seen me do this though, so she knows what to expect with me anyway. But I'm sure when we get there, it'll be the same talk.
Has she asked you about EST specifically?
No, she already knows I'm crazy. She volunteered at Seattle on Saturday. She saw me hanging out in there with Chris for a little while. She knows that this is just what I do. And once we get to EST, she'll kind of probably maybe hesitate, maybe not. Maybe she'll surprise me and just love it too. Who knows? We'll see.
This weekend is the first of 4 races in the Tougher Mudder Championship Series. Let's talk about Tougher Mudder Tri-State this weekend.
Yeah, this Tri-State map is very compact.
There's a lot of back and forth switchbacks on this course.
Yeah, you'll be able to see everybody almost the entire time out there. That'll be interesting for the competitive tougher wave if everybody's able to see each other a lot more and know where each other is all the time.
The first obstacle at Tougher Mudder Tri-State will be the Berlin Walls. What is your strategy for getting over the Berlin Walls?
There's a couple ways to do it. It's early in the race, so it's not even it's not even a mile in. It's barely in. So everybody's still going to be fresh for that. Just run up to it. There's usually 2x4, a couple feet off the ground or so, that you can use as leverage. You run up to it, stick your foot on that 2x4 and jump up, grab the top, and just use your momentum to get over Berlin Walls as quickly as possible and then keep rolling. That'd be the quick way to get over that. That's what I do if it's early in the course.
Grant, do you do a muscle up or do you kind of roll over the top?
It depends on the angle. I don't really roll over the top. I kind of do half. I kind of do half of each. Once I get up there, I use my right arm mainly for stability and pushing myself upwards, and I usually take my left arm off the wall and kick my feet over and around it, and then just flip around and jump back down the other side. So I don't really do muscle ups if I'm running faster. If I'm going slow, if it's later on the course, then I'll muscle up it. But early in the course like that, you want to get over it as quickly as possible. You still got some running to do, and you want to spread the pack out a bit. Avoid that bottleneck.
That's a good point, especially that early in the race. You need to get to that wall first so that you don't get stuck in a line.
Yeah.
After Berlin Walls, there's a bit of a run, and then right before the 1 mile mark, the second obstacle is Mud Mile 2.0. Tell me about Mud Mile 2.0.
Well, let's see, Mud Mile 2.0, it's from what I've seen this year, it's varied depending on course. There have been some mud miles where the pits have been more shallow, and there have been others, like the one we just did in Seattle, where the pits were deep, and there was nothing to grab onto, and it was difficult to get out of. Everybody that ran the tougher wave in Seattle was helping each other through mud mile. There was no way we were doing that by ourselves. So a lot of that depth and the wall structure is going to be course dependent. With a tougher wave, you have to go through it twice, I believe, through one way and then turn around and go the other way. So it could definitely be a strength suck, especially that early in the course. What I mainly do is just get together with a bunch of people, whoever's around, and give each other boosts and hands up just to get over that through it. Even if you have to slow down and do it as a group, that's a whole lot easier to do with a few other people than try and do it all alone.
The next obstacle is Tired Yet. Do you know Tired Yet?
Series of tires, kind of like quick feet, I believe.
There's another tire obstacle I've seen, but it kind of depends on the course, where sometimes there are giant tires on end that you have to climb over.
Right.
But
right.
I think that has a different name. So all that to say, I think you're right. I think it's a quick feet kind of obstacle.
Yeah. That was just keep a pattern going. Keep a rhythm. Left, right, and just cruise right through that.
The fourth obstacle is Quagmire. Tell me about Quagmire.
Quagmire is usually just a muddy pit of some kind of varying length. That's another course-dependent one, depending on how much mud they have and how long they make it. Sometimes it's through an actual swamp. Sometimes it's just a short, quick little mud pit. You just hop in, hop back out, and you're on the way continuing.
After Quagmire is Skid Marked.
Yeah, Skid Marked is a nice, quick set of walls. They're inverted a little bit. They have an angle to them, so you can jump right up from the ground and grab the top. And then what I found is easiest for those is you use the supports right next to them for leverage on your feet, and just kind of roll yourself around and over the top. Men, be careful rolling yourself over the top of there, and then just hop down the other side.
After Skid Marked, there's a little bit of a kind of loop-the-loop with the course.
Yeah.
You know, this course, we're talking about it. You can see the course map on our Facebook page, World's Toughest Facebook page, facebook.com/World's Toughest Pod. It is back and forth the entire 10 miles. So I think being aware of the course and not going off course is going to be just having course awareness of where you are and where the course is going to be important.
Yeah, I hope that this one is marked and flagged really well where the turns are and where they're not. Occasionally, there's some courses where you just kind of get in the mode of running and you kind of lose which way the trail goes. Or you're not on the correct path or cutting some corner somewhere or something. So hopefully, especially with all these switchbacks they're marked really well so nobody misses where they're going or cuts off half their course or gets DQ'd because of it. Yeah,
coming out of Skid Mark, there's a 180-degree turn that if you miss it, you can get right back on the course to the next obstacle, but you've skipped maybe, an eighth of a mile of running that everyone else is going to be doing.
Yeah.
The next obstacle is Kiss of Mud 2.0.
Belly down in some mud, crawl under some barbed wire, and crawl to the other side. There's usually a couple hay bales in there as well. I've found it depends on the height of the barbed wire, but usually the easiest way that I've found to get through it is to roll. For the tougher wave, occasionally they do not allow competitors to roll. You actually have to belly to the ground, army crawl it. But usually the volunteer will be there shouting at everybody on what they have to do or not do.
After Kiss of Mud is the Block Ness Monster.
Yeah, that's become a quick crowd favorite. A lot of people get there as groups, roll everything as groups. It's really similar to Mud Mile in that it's a whole lot easier to do as a group. Any advice I'd give to anybody would be to stay on top of the block as long as you can, just to keep it rolling and keep the momentum going so everybody behind you can also get up on or over the block as well and roll down. Don't just slide off the other side. When you get to the top of the block, turn around and grab at the edge behind you so your weight and gravity do the work for everybody else as well.
After Block Ness Monster is Devil's Beard.
And with the tougher wave, we usually have to carry sandbags through here as well. So it depends on what they decide to do, but each tougher one I've done has been sandbags, which is fine. It doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't really change the difficulty of this particular obstacle. It's just dragging a sandbag through or under the same cargo net that you're crawling under already. Working together in a group works well. Just kind of make a little huddle and then kind of walk through as a pod with the net sliding over your back. And there's usually, especially coming out of block nets, everybody should be in groups. And so as they come around that corner and cruise over Devil's Beard, it should be fairly easy to maintain that group coming into the Devil's Beard and then working together through that one.
That's a really good point. You can kind of team up for those two obstacles right in a row.
Mm-hmm.
After Devil's Beard is Everest 2.0.
Which would be a nice thing to kind of have your same crew with for Everest. For the tougher wave, at some of them that I've been to, sometimes there's been a little bit of confusion on the volunteers' part, where sometimes we haven't been able to help each other and sometimes we have. As far as I'm aware, we are allowed to help each other. That's been our standard mode of operation. But if anybody's shot maybe differently, then sure, adapt. For the tougher waves I've been to, Everest has had ropes that have been thrown down. They've had various levels of knots in them. So if you can't just run right up Everest and pop up there at the top, you can use the rope. You'll be with your friends, hopefully still from the Devil's Beard, and they can help you once you get to the top or from the bottom. A way that you can use the rope to your advantage, getting up Everest, is find one that has some knots in it, a good amount of knots, and then walk up the rope. Use the knots to walk. Put one of your feet on the rope, grab the other rope with your hand, kind of walk up a little bit, put your other foot on the next knot, walk up a little bit, put your other foot on the next knot, walk up a little bit, and then once you get up near the top where you can't walk uphill anymore, you just kind of grab the rope and pull yourself up over the lip, and then you're at top of Everest.
That is great advice for climbing those ropes, because it's actually requires some technique. It's not as simple as just climbing a rope up. You have to kind of, I mean, if you're having trouble with that on Everest, like rewind this podcast 20 seconds and listen to what you just said again, because that's good advice.
Thanks. Yeah, that's a great way to do that. If you just grab one of the ropes and try to walk up it, like you have the rope in your hands, but you're walking on the face of Everest, you'll just start to lean further and further backwards, and you won't be able to. You'll be near parallel to the ground, and you won't be able to get your upper body up over Everest without losing your footing. So instead of trying to walk up Everest and using the rope as you would like climbing a mountain or something, walk on the rope. It's a easier way to do that with the rope if you have to do it on your own. Otherwise, there are plenty of teammates there to offer you a helping hand.
Yeah, I've done that where you just kind of like climbing a mountain and you get to the top and you're like, well, shoot, now what do I do? Like, I can't get up there. You're right there, but you can't make it over the lip. So,
yeah, you're leaning back so far, you're kind of stuck.
After Everest 2.0 is Creek Crusade. I believe Creek Crusade is going to be a river crossing. Yeah,
that's an uncommon obstacle. It's not most of the Tough Mudders I've been to. It's been a few, and that typically is going down and running through a creek or a stream of some distance, either going down and just crossing it or running through it, like up it. We'll see how big or far that is.
After Creek Crusade, the 11th obstacle is Hero Carry. What's been your experience with Hero Carry at Tougher Mudder?
My experience with Hero Carry is that I've always been showing up there with like the dudes that are 6'3", 220. And so I got to carry these huge guys, and then they get to carry me, which is super easy for them because I'm only $155 or so. Usually I draw the guy that has 60, 70 pounds on me. I don't mind it. Hero Carry is fine with me. But that's just been my personal experience. Piggybacking works fine. Fireman's carry works great. It's just brute force picking somebody up and carrying them a distance and then them returning the favor.
I ran Tougher Mudder LA near the very start of the season, and they actually waved us through hero carry. They said Tougher Mudder does not have to do hero carry. Now, I don't know if that's changed over the course of the year. I haven't run a Tougher Mudder since Phoenix, like back in April. So, but I'm not sure what Tri-State will do.
We can have a couple weeks ago in Seattle. We did hero carry.
Okay.
Yep. We'll see.
The 12th obstacle is Ladder to Hell.
Yeah, that one is a set of 2x8s, 2x12s, roughly, set up on giant posts. And you have about 6-8 rungs to that ladder. You just climb up them, climb down them. It's a part of it. Getting over the top of it can be a little bit like skid marks. Gentlemen, be careful. But it's just climbing large 2x12s up and down.
If my legs are going to cramp on an obstacle, this is the obstacle they will cramp on.
Not balls to the wall or Berlin, huh? It's ladder to hell.
You know what? Balls to the wall is probably second, but yeah, ladder to hell is first.
All right.
The next,
that's a good one. You got to be careful with your legs or your calves on that one because you can, especially if you're stretching out, use a lot of flex in your calf. And so anytime you're doing that, if your calves are super tight or about to cramp, you have enough salts or water, then your calves can cramp pretty quickly anytime you're using your legs to really stretch out and get your body up a wall somehow.
The next obstacle is Pyramid Scheme.
Yeah, and for toughers, they've had ropes. So that makes it super cake. You just run up to it, hop on there, grab a rope. And this one, you can actually just walk up with the rope. It's not like Everest. You can just hold the rope, go hand over hand, walk right up it, hop up the top, and off you go.
Yeah, Pyramid Scheme at Tougher is probably one of the easiest obstacles to get past.
Yes, concur.
The 14th obstacle is Balls to the Wall.
Yep, and it's a tall wall with a rope with various knots. Sometimes there are no knots. Sometimes there are 12 knots. Just be selective at which rope you'd like to use. There's 2x4s on the wall that you can use as well for leverage. You just got to climb up roughly a 12-foot wall, hop over the top, and get down the other side. And this is another calf cramper if you're not stretched out on your calves or your calves are cramping up or you're not having enough salts.
The 15th obstacle is Swamp Stomp.
That sounds pretty self-explanatory. You're going to go walk through a swamp for a little bit. This is another uncommon obstacle. It's not at too many events that I know of. It's a lot like Pre-Crusade, where you just hop down in some water and just get through that swamp.
You know, when Tough Mudder has the opportunity, they like to run you through these like really mucky ones that are going to like steal your shoes kind of thing. They did this in Temecula a lot. I don't know if you've ever ran that course, but they would send you through like, I don't know, a quarter mile of just thick, swampy mud where you're almost on all fours trying to crawl through it. Just be careful not to lose your shoes.
There was one of those up in Seattle as well. Last few years, actually, they had us go down and walk into a pond, but the pond didn't have any water. It was just mud. And you got in there, and it would just suck right up to your mid-thigh. It was soft, deep mud. And there were a lot of shoes that were lost in that dried-up little pond. So anytime you go through a swamp, careful with your shoes. Also, if you find an area that's a little bit drier, a little bit more solid, try to armory crawl or something through that area. Otherwise, if you're going through the really soft stuff, you're going to suck a lot of energy just crawling through mud.
Yeah, and you're at like the 5.5 mile point for this obstacle. So if you lose your shoes, you've still got 4.5 miles you got to run. So good luck with that.
Run barefoot.
The next obstacle is Hold Your Wood.
You run up to it, you pick up a large log. There's a little circuit you can run or walk around, carry your wood around that circuit, drop it back off at the start, and off you go.
Is there any strategy to grabbing like a long, skinny one versus a short, fat one? Or does it matter?
You can try to get the lightest looking piece possible, and that's always great. What I found is looks can sometimes be deceiving. Sometimes the big pieces are actually the driest, and so they're the lightest. Some of the smaller pieces, depending on the wood, they might look great because they're smaller, but it might still be wet wood, so it might still be heavy. So if you can look at the wood and see that it's really dry wood, pick up that piece, because that really dry piece is going to be a lot lighter than the smaller but wet piece.
The 17th obstacle is Funky Monkey, the Revolution.
Yay! All right. I can only give so much advice to you guys on this. You run up this one, you get a ladder. You have to monkey bar your way up. Get a few wheels, get your momentum going, swinging from wheel to wheel. Try not to stall out and lose your momentum. And there's a little down bar at the end you grab, and then you jump on the platform on the other side. Try not to fall in the water.
One tip that someone gave me that helped a lot is go as fast as you can, because you're hanging, your body weight is hanging. Even if you stop to rest, you're still working to maintain that. You're holding your body weight up. So don't stop. Even though you want to stop and rest maybe halfway up, just go, and get through as fast as you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely agree. And that'd be another way to maintain your momentum, especially on the vertical rings or the vertical wheels. That way, the faster you go, the more swing you get. The closer you get to the next wheel, the easier of a grab it is.
But then, you know what? Morgan McKay told me the exact opposite, so...
Really?
What do I know? Yeah, she's probably stronger. I'm sure she is. She's stronger than I am, so she likes to take her time, so she makes sure she doesn't slip. Yeah. So maybe, you're 7 miles in now at Funky Monkey, so you're probably tired. I would bust through it as fast as you can. The next obstacle is Mine Shafted.
Yeah, that one's a pretty straightforward one. There's a black irrigation pipe that you just hop into. It's a downslope, so you slide down that into a small pit, and then you climb out the pit on the other side. That's all there is to it.
The 19th obstacle is Snot Rocket and Augustus Gloop.
Yeah, actually, I like these. If you're a little bit hot by this point, it's a great time to hop in there and cool down. Jump in some water, and depending on which one you're doing, Snot Rocket or Augustus, you either have to duck under some barrels underwater, fully submerging yourself, or you don't. And then if you do fully submerge yourself, you come up underneath a chain link fence, and then you start climbing the tubes, the pipes. Either side, they both have pipes, and they both have fire hoses at the top, spraying water down through the pipe at you as you try to climb up these pipes. There are handholds and footholds inside the pipe. You can just stick your hands and feet in there and climb right up. What I found that worked best is using those as a ladder, and just sometimes they have those handholds on both sides of the pipe. My recommendation would be just to choose one side or the other, and just climb it just like you're climbing a ladder, hand over hand, foot over foot, and just climb it, get to the top, and right back out.
This obstacle looks real intimidating the first time you walk up to it, but it's actually one of the most fun ones.
Yeah.
After Snot Rocket is Black Hole and Birth Canal.
Yeah, so Birth Canal and Black Hole are very similar. It's a series of weighted tarps or plastic that have water in them, and that tarp or plastic is pretty close to the ground level, so you have to squeeze in between that weighted water and the ground and basically shove water out of your way. Black Hole has the modification on it where it has a large black tarp over it, so you can't really see anything as you're doing it. That's the only difference between the two. This obstacle, it depends on how much water is in each of the bins, depending on how heavy it is, how close to the ground it is. And then a way to kind of get around it or make the water weight easier on you is kind of go on the sides a little bit or towards the sides. And that way you don't have to kind of push half the water off you and then keep moving instead of trying to go right through the middle and shove the whole thing to one side or the other.
The next obstacle is Arctic Enema, the Rebirth.
Yeah, and this is where we host our board meetings and other group communications. There's a number of us that will go and just hang out in Arctic Enema and chat, have tea and biscuits. It's a nice little spot to relax. Some of us like to bring coloring books and color. Some of us enjoy a glass of wine or grapefruit or grape juice, depending on who you are. So what is you run up to a large dumpster, basically a construction-sized dumpster, that's full of water, and hopefully there's a nice thick layer of ice on the top of it. For the tougher version, what we have to do typically at all the events we've done this for tougher is we actually have to carry our ice from somewhere before Arctic Enema to Arctic Enema. So probably shortly after Black Hole, there will be a pallet with a large stack of ice on it, bags of ice, 20-pound bags of ice or so. So grab one of those, toss it over your shoulder, and carry your punishment of ice over to Arctic Enema, because you're going to be the one to dump it down the tube and into Arctic Enema as well. After you've dumped your ice, and make sure you break your ice up first before you dump it. You don't want to dump a giant chunk in there, because then if you slide down into it, you smack your face on it or something, and that's painful for everyone. So please break up your ice before you dump it into Arctic Enema. Jump into the tube, slide down in the icy cold water, spend as much or as little time in there as you would like. Control your breathing, take a nice deep breath, go underneath the chain link fence that is right above the water level, and then dip down a little further while you're underwater underneath the wooden wall, and then pop out the other side. And then you can hop out of the dumpster, and then you're done with Arctic Enema.
After Arctic Enema is Stage 5 Clinger.
My current nemesis. Stage 5 Clinger is there's also the reach around. Stage 5 Clinger and the reach around, depending on which one you're doing. Reach around is just a series of 2x4s at a little bit of an angle, just like skid marks is the wall. And you climb it, and then you just turn. It's kind of like an edge, about a 45-degree edge, maybe 60-degree. A 60-degree corner that you just go up and kind of muscle up past, and then you climb up over the rest of reach around. Stage 5 Clinger, you climb up a wall with a couple 2x4s, and then you reach the metal bars that are an inch away from the plywood above them. And so you're scraping your knuckles along the plywood, making them bleed, which is wonderful. And you're swinging out on those like you're doing monkey bars, and hopefully you have enough strength to keep your body up, because if you swing too much, you're really scraping your knuckles on the plywood. You get to the end, and you're still hanging there on the bar. You turn around, and you grab the lip above you, and then you do a muscle up to get over the lip, and then you climb down the other side.
On Stage 5 Clinger, my trick is as soon as I can, I use my legs to wrap around that post, and try and take some weight off of my arms with my legs.
Yeah, that's a good way to do that. There's usually a little 2x4 or 2x6 kind of foot block or something bolted or screwed onto the support beam for Stage 5 Clinger. So if you see it there and you can kind of use that to your advantage, use it.
After Stage 5 Clinger, there's a long run, and then the last obstacle is Kong.
So Kong is a series of rings. It depends on which tougher you're at, how many rings you get. I've done some where there have been 4 rings, where the first ring was taken away. I've done a tougher where there's only been 3 rings. The first and the last ring was taken away, which was tons of fun and very difficult, but still doable as long as you can jump out and grab that first ring. And there have been other times later on in the tougher where all 5 have been down. So it just, from my experience, it depends on what time you arrive at Kong and determines how many rings you get. Jumping out to that second ring, if your legs are tired and spent, is a challenge. if you don't have a lot of jumping strength or leaping ability, do some squats to work on that, because that's where leaping comes in very useful, is on cone. If they have that first ring up, you leap out, grab that second ring, and then your momentum will carry you over to the third one. Grab that, and then just swing like normal over through the end of cone, and then down the other side through the finish, and grab your beer.
Something we didn't mention on Funky Monkey, similar to Kong, is if you fail it on a Tougher Mudder, they now have penalty loops for those 2 obstacles.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So
I haven't had to do those. So Funky Monkey, if you fall in the water, there's a small penalty loop that you just go out and you run around, and then you can come back and keep running past it. But it's a lot like Worlds in that there's a little penalty loop at Funky Monkey. And then for Kong, the penalty, if you fail that, is going through EST, which some of us don't consider a penalty, but, teach yourself.
Grant Polson, any last thoughts on Tougher Mudder or World's Toughest Mudder?
If Kong's giving you a hard time and you really want to finish really quickly, just go up there, jump off, hit the airbag, and then go around and run through EST really quick. But sometimes that's a whole lot faster than spending time trying to complete Kong over and over and over again. Let's see, final thoughts on Tougher or Worlds. I like the increasing competitive levels, or the increased challenge that's been rolled out this year with Toughest and Tougher. It's going to be great to see more of this and see how that aspect grows. I think it gives a little bit more challenge and a little bit more of what those of us that are deep in the group are kind of looking for, is just a little tweak on what we've got, but definitely something that's a bit more challenging than we're used to. And it's also a great way to test ourselves for Worlds. Worlds is coming up pretty quick. We got, as of the time we're talking now, we got a little bit over a month left to go. So I'm really looking forward to getting back down there in the desert and reaching goals and helping everybody reach goals. And yeah, there's nothing else like it out there, really.
Grant Polson, thanks much.
Yeah, thanks, Will.
Special thanks to Grant Polson for appearing in this episode. Well done, Grant. You can meet Grant at Tough Mudder NorCal next weekend. Don't forget, Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern, go to facebook.com/toughmudderlive to watch the first ever Tougher Mudder Regional Championship race. And don't forget to leave a review on iTunes. I would sincerely appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Thanks a lot, guys. That's funny. Alrighty, well, I'm going to edit this and get it up in probably a day or two, and I'll shoot you a link, and you can share it and maybe put it up in the your Adaptive Athletes page too, if they're interested.
Sure. Oh yeah, they'll be interested.